world is a fragile place. It has taken billions of years and five mass extinctions for us to arrive at the world that we know today. Since the start of the Industrial Revolution, we have seen a birth and explosion in new technology that has given us great convenience and better quality of life that the inhabitants of this world have never known before. But this comes at a great cost to our environment. We have poisoned our lands and polluted our oceans. We're slowly beginning to see the effects of the excessive use and exploitation of our planet. We have taken so much from our earth, but have given very little back to ensure that we can sustain ourselves for generations to come. Time is running out. If we don't act now, we will begin to see a rapid deterioration of our world, a world that will no longer be able to sustain its rapid growth. Today, 5 of us will explain to you the damage that we've done to our world and show you some of the things that we can do to move closer to the sustainability of our planet. I'll begin our presentation by talking to you about fossil fuel. If not for fossil fuel, our world would not exist as we know it today. Our planes, our trains, our automobiles, our cargo ships all run off of fossil fuels processed from crude oil. Most of our electricity in America comes from coal. Many homes are also heated with oil and natural gas. Fossil fuels are the main contributors to air pollution and greenhouse gases. Most of these gases come in the form of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and hydrocarbons that are created from internal combustion engines and also from burning of coal and natural gas for electricity. The 2011 estimate for the world CO2 emissions from the consumption of coal is 14,416 million metric tons. We mine coal both from underground mines and from open pit mines. Crude oil is the fossil fuel that we use to refine various fuels for the use in transportation and also small internal combustion engines. It's estimated that we have only 25 years left before we start to run out of oil. It is currently impossible to accurately predict exactly when we'll run out of oil, but many believe we will reach a peak in our oil production and then hit a plateau by the year 2040. After this happens, there will be a plateau and then a steady decline in the production of oil. The days of cheap oil are gone, and it is becoming more difficult and more expensive to find oil. Although we have unused reserves left in current wells, it's much more expensive to extract these reserves than it is to tap to a new well. An oil well goes through 3 phases: the primary phase, the secondary phase, and the tertiary phase. During the primary phase, the oil can literally have enough pressure built up inside from natural gas and water and gravity pushing down on everything that it can come up on its own. This makes it very profitable for the oil companies to produce this oil. They can usually produce about 10% oil during this phase. Next, the secondary phase, it's going to be necessary for them to put water, and also they can reuse some of the natural gas and pump it back down into the well, which will repressurize it, allowing them to extract up to 20 to 40% more oil from the well. The final phase is the tertiary phase, or also known as the enhanced recovery phase. A lot of the wells will be have been or will be capped off during this phase because this phase is much more expensive for them to extract the oil from. If the oil is removed during this phase, they'll pump CO2 gas down into the well, and this is going to react chemically with the oil and allow it to flow better, allowing them to extract up to 50% more oil. The 2011 estimate for proved oil reserves for crude oil is 1,646 billion barrels, and the 2011 estimate for world CO2 emissions are 11,408 million metric tons. As technology improves, we're able to extract more oil from places that we weren't able to before. But this also comes at a higher cost both to the oil companies and to our environment. Most of you have probably heard of hydraulic fracturing. It's commonly known as fracking. Fracking is a process of drilling a borehole, and they pump millions of gallons of water along with various chemicals and sand down in that hole at high pressure, which it fractures the shale rock, releasing natural gas, and also they can extract some light crude oil from this process. Fracking is met with much controversy because of the effects it can have on the environment. It has been reported that water wells used for drinking water have had traces of the chemicals that they use in the fracking operations, and also it's been reported that methane gas has been 17 times higher concentrations in these wells close to the fracking operations than in other wells. Also, it's not proven to be directly related, but seismic activity in recent years has been higher in areas close to fracking operations than it has before. Natural gas is our cleanest burning fossil fuel, but it still contributes significantly to CO2 emissions. The amount approved world reserves for natural gas, according to 2011 estimates, are 6,846 trillion cubic feet. The 2011 estimate for the amount of CO2 released into the atmosphere worldwide is 6,755 million metric tons. We'll probably never be able to move 100% away from fossil fuel, at least not in our lifetime. But if we don't start to act now and implement things such as renewable energy, we're going to see a slowly decline in the way we enjoy our lives, and the generations to come will not be able to enjoy their lives like we do. And next, Phoebe is going to talk to you about water pollution.
Some facts about the water. 71% of the earth is covered in water. 96.5% of that is in the oceans. But from all of that, 2.5% of it is only fresh water. In China, there are 320 Chinese people who cannot have drinking water, because 20% of that groundwater used for drinking is highly polluted. It contains a chemical called carcinogenetic. Now, 40% of rivers and 46% of lakes in the United States are polluted. They are unhealthy to swim in, you cannot fish in it, and marine life such as fish or seaweed cannot function, cannot live. There are different types of pollution. You have from sewage and garbage, which is released from cities, factories, and so on, which is dangerous for animals. You have runoffs from factories and storms, from chemicals, and storms mostly bring garbage as well, like I said, sewage. Global warming is another thing. It rises the level, it changes the temperature of the water, which can cause damages to the environment, as well as mating grounds and feeding grounds, and oil spills. Now, marine life in the U.S. in 1972, October 21st, the Congress passed the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which is the first legislation for an ecosystem to prove natural resources and management. It's actually a ban, so you cannot sell, you cannot import or export any part of marine life in the United States. There are other kinds of ways to hurt animals, like plastics. It can go around their throats, which can suffocate them, it can stop them from feeding, mating. You have oil spills, which makes them hard to swim, which is another way they can die from predators. You have sewage and garbage, which actually cruises, they have so much sewage coming out of them. They have at least 200,000 gallons of sewage, which causes them to swim in it, which makes them relocate to different areas which they're not used to. So they can die of temperature, they can't adapt fast enough, or the other predators are faster and stronger than them. And you have runoffs from factories and storms, like I said. But one thing, factories say that they have clean, when their runoffs are clean, but there's a chemical in them that sinks toxin, and little fish eat it, and then bigger fish eat them, and we hunt those fish and we sell them on the market. So the runoffs from the factory is sold back to us resource. A way for us to improve this is to adopt a sensible standard applications for buildings, and yes, it saves money and it helps use less water when doing common things. You can support the Clean Act, which was passed by Congress in 1972, which is a way to help stop pollution. Is basically they stop chemical, physical, and biological integrations from entering the water. They have point and non-point pollution sources, and they help support local people trying to stop water pollutions. Now, Jeffrey is going to talk to you about a little bit of alternative energies.
So, as much as I love putting explosive liquid dinosaurs in my car, I prefer a method that is both clean and cheap. So, what is alternative energy? At first, it's any kind of energy that is not the norm. So, a little history lesson, in Europe, around 1500, they got so good at cutting down the trees that they were running out. And they put a dent that is pretty sizable in the ozone layer because of all the CO2 that they went from they burned the wood. So they switched over to coal, which I suppose helped. And they were able to replant forests, they were able to regrow. And so next there's whale oil. And when they were starting to run out from their lamps, they switched over to petroleum. So, alternative energy today is something like solar power. There's a big ball of hydrogen gas out there in space about 92 million miles away. And we're not harnessing almost any of it. It's raining down light energy constantly, 24/7, and it's 100% free. Once you set up a solar panel, it requires little to no maintenance. In addition, there's solar, you can make solar roads. So imagine going out to a gas station, except it's not a gas station. You charge up your car from all the energy from the solar roads. And on top of that, it's free. So something a little less sexy, hydroelectric power. Water comes through the dam, and it turns a turbine generating electricity. Our world is full of movement, and basic principles, converting movement into mechanical energy into electric energy, based on the law of conservation of energy, allows us to harness it. In addition, we can harness the tides, generating even more electricity for our needs. But operating on that same principle is wind energy. The wind pushes the turbine, generating electricity for our needs. In addition, an offshore wind farm is also an extremely viable option. There's one in London right now, and it's starting to take over all of their electricity needs. An offshore wind farm is highly efficient because out there in the ocean, winds can reach up to 2 times the speed as they would on land. Now I'm going to pass it off to Kendall. She's going to talk to us about the 3 R's.
The 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and cycle, were created to help you, your community, and your environment by saving money, energy, and natural resources. The first R is reduce. Reduce is cutting back on resources that you use. It's the most effective of all the R's, but it's also the hardest because you have to let go of the bigger the better thinking. You don't just completely stop using the resources, you just cut back a little. When you're shopping, look for useful stuff that will last longer. Some examples of reducing is cutting back on the water use at home or buying used items. The second R is reuse, which is reusing old items before disposing of them. It keeps new resources from being used for a while longer and old resources from entering the waste system. Some examples are loaning a magazine to your friend or neighbor, or donating your cell phone, or upgrading your computer. The third R is recycle. Recycle is caught on the best. There are many curbside recycling programs today, 8,666 as of 2006. This makes recycling really easy. The rules are what keep people from recycling, because some towns are very particular about their the plastics that they accept. So, but it's easy. All you have to do is learn the rules and do your part. Some things that you can recycle are paper, aluminum, plastics, and cardboard. These 3 simple things can make a big difference in the world, so try cutting back a little or putting all your cans into a recycling bin. It won't kill you, and it can possibly save lives in the future. Knowing the pros and cons of the environment is very essential to being eco-friendly, and Cameron will explain this.
There are very many pros and cons to going green. I'm going to tell you a few of them. The first one would be having better health for the planet. And basically, it includes people, animal, and natural life. If we want to reduce the toxins in our air, reducing pollution, this is a vital step to keeping everything healthy and sustaining the earth. Having a clean and healthy future for our generation. No one wants a polluted earth for our children or our grandchildren like these. If there's something we can do about it, why would you want to leave this for everyone else? It also increases the time that our planet can sustain life. Rainforests are already desecrated across the earth. So many have been cut down, many animals are going extinct because of it, and it's not healthy. Going green can reduce the amount of resources we use, preventing this from happening. Living green is also very inexpensive once you get started. The resources that you need to get started eventually pay off themselves by the amount of money you save from using them. It also helps the economy. This is what the U.S. could be known for. If we push and work hard enough, we could have the potential to be on something cutting edge to inspire the rest of the world to go green as well. However, there are a few cons to going green, and those would be that initially it is a little bit expensive. Getting the resources you need to start making your life green can be pricey because they are not produced on a scale like commercial products are produced on. So they're not as available or inexpensive as most are. Now, if there was something you could do about it, would you want your children or your grandchildren to live in a place like this? What you may not know is that this is a very real situation for some people. In Ghana, their ecosystem is so damaged that they're living upon their dirt and rubble from their lives. By making these simple changes, we can prevent a world of deterioration and recreate the beautiful green planet we once used to know. Not only will we create a healthier environment for ourselves, but for many generations to come. Thank you.